didn't think I'd come here without reinforcements, did you?
Wish I'd thought of that. Oh, wait. I did.
Hey everybody, I'm Jason Hillhouse, and we're here to talk about Season 2 of The Justice League with...
Butch Lukic, director.
James Tucker, producer.
Bruce Timm, producer.
Dwayne McDuffie, story editor.
What were some of the things that you learned from Season 1 that then applied to Season 2 that you think maybe smoothed out a little bit?
Well, you know, the thing with Season 1 is that it was a decent show, but it was very safe. It was very middle of the road. It didn't really surprise you very much. We were deliberately trying not to make the show as dark as we had done with Batman and Batman Beyond and even the Superman show to a degree. We were trying to make a little bit more of an all-ages show. It's juggling a lot of characters and the archetypes that are real strong, but the personalities have a tendency to blend into one another.
Well, I'm trying to get Superman out of the way when there's stories dealing with Batman or Wonder Woman.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, Superman could deal with pretty much everything. You didn't want to bring in Kryptonite all the time because that was just an easy hook, so.
I mean, a greater problem was not so much just Superman, but just how we staged action. The shows in the past basically dealt with one single character, and you followed that character through the action. Well, now you have 7. We tended to chop up the action in ways that weren't very dynamic.
The problem was, though, we also had to, in between fights, you have to go back and see what someone else is doing, or you lose him in the story.
Right.
We finally figured it out, but it took a while to get there.
You all right?
Peachy.
It seemed like maybe you guys were having a little bit more fun.
We did kind of open the floodgates a little bit with Twilight. I was pretty charged up after I'd done my rewrite on Twilight. I kind of went, wow, okay, we can actually do the show that we kind of see in our head, that James and I kind of saw in our head. We kind of realized, yeah, this is it. And so we can kind of go this way, and we can push the show in different directions.
We're very passive-aggressive with our fans. Whenever we know they want something, we don't give it to them. So Season 1, we didn't give them the big super villain brawl that they were expecting. So Secret Society is our version of that.
Get him!
The plot gave us an excuse to have them fight, but it also gave our characters an excuse to talk about how they really feel about each other. I mean, there's a mind control element to it, but really the things that they're saying about their relationships and how they feel about each other, they all mean it. And we got to see them in ways that we couldn't see them otherwise.
You don't care about me.
What are you talking about? I'd give my life for you.
So in terms of like the story and the characters actually having something at stake.
Right, we just wanted to make things more personal for everybody.
This thing's got to pay off sooner or later.
Man, I love this town.
Dwayne, was it your idea to send him to Vegas?
I don't remember if it was my idea to send him to Vegas. I know the initial thought when we were plotting it, we were all sitting around plotting it, was we wanted to do something with a reality show. We were kind of trying to figure out how to do, you know, the Joker and something like that.
In real time. We wanted to do the episode in real time as well.
And that's what cracked it for us. The fun for me was the Joker has trouble with, you know, just Batman, let alone, you know, Superman and Green Lantern and all these guys. But the fun of it was he came up with a plot that just ran them ragged.
The suspense is killing me. Of course, it's going to be the explosions that kill them.
Any final thoughts or anything that you take away when you look back at Season 2?
I'm pretty proud of it. I think it was definitely a turning point for us. We were so kind of not used to failure, because all of the other shows we'd kind of like, you know, kind of come out of the gate, you know, scoring touchdowns, and this one was a real rough first season, and so it was gratifying to be able to turn it around and then feel good about the show ourselves.
Well, with first season, we saw what we didn't want to do, which made it easier to figure out what we did want to do. But in some ways, it was like turning around an ocean liner to get there. It was a lot of hard work. Because we had that yardstick of the earlier shows, it was just twice as hard to up the ante.
Well, it's an interesting thing to look back at the progression of this show. You really can see the steps toward the direction that you ultimately wound up with. And I think it's really interesting to be able to go back and look at these things season to season like that.
Always have to be the hero, don't you?
Right back at you.
It's always good to get to come here and sit down and talk with the guys and just find out about what they were thinking while they were making the show, and to hear about the stories, where they got the ideas for the stories and all that kind of stuff. But another cool thing is to get to actually look at some of the artwork. Some of the backgrounds in particular are really cool, and you don't really get to see them on the show because there's all the action and stuff going on in front, but they're really beautiful. Let's go check out some of the art right now.
Your so-called Justice League is in violation of our martial law. They are to be considered an enemy and dealt with on sight.
What makes a background work, and especially what kind of style do you do for this kind of show?
Batman and the Superman shows both had really, really stylized backgrounds. And we thought that for Justice League, being a little bit more fantasy-oriented show, we should ground it in a little bit more of a felt reality. We would try a little bit more experimental or bizarre color schemes, anything to kind of, make the backgrounds pop a little bit more.
And this show winds up being even more sci-fi than even Superman in its later, episodes.
It became a trick after a while trying to come up with different looks for different alien worlds, because we went to lots of different alien worlds and alien environments. So, and each one of those had its own feel, and we didn't want them all to look like the same generic, alien world. I mean, for instance, Hereafter, it takes place many, many thousands of years in the future, where our sun has gone red. The red sun is tinting the moon pink, and then the sky, the landscape gets kind of purplish. This is from Twilight. The big mandate about the inside of Brainiac's head is we wanted to have just immense scale. So we said, well, it'd be really cool if while we're panning through here, we saw one of Brainiac's spaceships parked there. So that kind of gives you an idea of how big this place actually is. This is a sequence inside the Brainiac head ship from Twilight, and the idea was we were supposed to pass by all these panels that showed different worlds that Brainiac had visited and destroyed. Well, we didn't want to design like a zillion different planets, so we basically took old backgrounds from Superman the Animated Series and even Batman Beyond. This is the world. It's from the Despero show. It's Despero's home world. His world is supposed to represent almost like a Middle Eastern kind of world. And so we definitely had like a little bit of an Arabic feel to, some of the cityscapes. And this is the Terror Beyond, and that's supposed to be a quasi-mystical other dimension. It's not supposed to be like a physical plane, but of course it does have to have some kind of physicality because the characters do interact in it. This is from Starcrossed. This background, I think initially it didn't have all these cast shadows all over it. That was something we added actually while we were painting it. And I think I said, that spotlight is blasting into the room. Why don't you carry those design elements into the cast shadows into the design as well, so that it's a much more angular, busy, and threatening environment. It's all about storytelling with us.
Thanks so much for your time today. I appreciate it. I'm Jason Hillhouse with Bruce Timm. Thanks for watching.